apologies if there's wind noise, it's really, really windy today. We've got a bucket of lukewarm water with a bit of soap in it, just some dish soap, you know, nothing fancy. And we have all of our plastics that need cleaning, and I'm basically just going to dunk them in the bucket and give them a good scrub on the inside to get the dirt off and do them wipe off on the outside. A stiff bristled brush will scratch these plastics. As you can probably tell, anything that's been covered is filthy, and the underside of here is really bad, which is why I want to soak it. I think this is going to be the only real way of cleaning this up. Little edges I just can't get in. Well, there's that one. It is quite an improvement. Still filthy, as you can see, but as a stage 1, it's a lot better than it was. Just going to give this a rinse off with a hose and then put it on the grass to dry out and get on with all the other ones. Oh god, look, there's little pieces of white tape left from when this was a Christmas bike. It also gives you the opportunity to get something down inside the screw holes that always get filthy and clean them out. These sort of black rubbery marks, they won't wash off with normal water and soap, but things like I found muck off speed polish is great for getting it off. It's something, I don't know if it's something in this that's in it that just seems to cut through, but it seems to take it off great, so I'm not too worried about trying to wash those off. It's just the mud and the grit really. Okay, well the plastics are all washed, although I have just noticed that I didn't take off the fork protectors. This little bit of plastic you can't quite see, and the battery box and stuff like that, which is absolutely filth still. But this mess, I thought I'm going to get to the bottom of this mess, because the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm realising the subframe's going to need to come off. It shouldn't be too difficult, because most of the electrics aren't connected to it, so the subframe can come off, the airbox can come off, and then I can get access to the underside of the frame and see what that rust is doing in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is just brush off some of this dust. I mean, thankfully most of this dirt in here is like dry dirt, like all this. It's properly caked on. It's getting the worst off for now, so I can get this wiring apart and then it'll all come off. Tail tidy the lot. I stopped to have something to eat, and I was just chatting to one of my mates on the phone at the same time, and I realised that I may be able to do this myself still, even if I have to drop the engine completely. I can just spray it if I need to. Or it may be a case that, well, the thing is, if I take the engine out, it's 90% of the way stripped anyway, so you might as well go the full hog and do the proper job. I promise you can't always do the proper job. It's easy to just, as I say, point and say, yeah, do it the proper way. It's not always easy and possible. Okay, so what is going on here? Okay, so basically there's 3 bullet connectors under there. It's not as much as a horror story as I thought it was going to be. That's actually not bad. That was just protecting it. But that goes to the tail light. And these that goes to the indicators. What's going on in here? I think this is somewhere I had to make some changes too. Okay, these are modified bullet connectors because I obviously didn't have quite the right size at the time. I think what I'll probably do is make completely new cables and just chop off the original connector sort of somewhere up here and put the splices in somewhere down here, and then have all new cabling for this. It's going to be the best way of doing it. If you remember back to when I did the free power mod on this and was sorting out electrical issues on this and my other bike, I bought quite a lot of supplies for electrical stuff, you know, like connectors, heat shrink, cable, all that sort of stuff. So I'm in pretty good standing with what I have here, that I won't need to buy anything to do this job, which is quite nice. But when I tackle this, I don't know, because we need to get to the heart of the problem. This is a subsidiary problem. To make my life slightly easier and to give me things to remember, I'm actually taking pictures of everything as is. Right, I sprayed those a little bit WD-40, so I'm hoping now... What are they going to do? Yeah. God, that's super tight though. The head stripped on that one a little bit, so let's try giving it a good whack to loosen the threads. To get this one out, I'm going to drill it out. I'm going to chop it down shorter because I've actually damaged the threads up the top trying to undo it. That was something I was planning on. I thought, well, I can use the top threads, try and get it to undo. If it won't undo, I can then chop it off in the middle and it's not a problem. So I'm going to use my Dremel with a cutting disc, not a brush. Use this just to chop the top off of that, and then I'm going to try and drill it. Once I've cut that off, I'll try and cut a flat head in it and try and undo it that way. There's a couple of bolts I need to replace because they're like this. That got very, very hot to cut through that. Oh, now it's on plastic. It completely destroyed that cutting disc. I don't know what that thing's made of. Christ! I've never seen one of those discs be destroyed like that. I just realised that cutting disc was one of the cheaper ones. I've got a proper Dremel one on here now. With a quick disconnect thing. I'm going to try and put a flathead in that. There we go, we've now got a flathead in that, and yeah, I did skip a bit, but it's just the tail tidy. Oh, yes! There we go, so we got that, which is the tail tidy, which as you can see, well, I think that's like a plastic coating, that's all coming off, so I'll have to clean that up with the wire wheel, respray that. It's nice and light, that little thing, and it's structurally fine. I think it might actually be aluminium. Yeah, because it's not rusted in the slightest, so that, or just clean it up and let it be bare alley. It's not going to rust. So there's the tail light unit. I've got a feeling some of these LEDs are gone, so I might have to look into seeing if I can find out what this is, because it works fine. Is this one of the trail something tail lights? Can anyone identify that tail? This is an 08 bike. This is aftermarket, clearly. Well, as that's off, there's no need for this to be on here. These are the, you know, the cables that went down. I find a good way of keeping track of what went where on your battery is to put all the cables that were on there back together and put the nut from your battery there, and then it can all be held together. You won't lose the nut, and you'll know what belonged on what side, if for some reason you don't. Oh, that just wanted to munch. Oh, we got a load of corrosion going on over here, that's why that doesn't want to undo. I had this before. Nope, that's properly welded in there. I can't get a socket over it. Yeah, that is actually welded. I'm going to have to drill that out really carefully. Thankfully it will release, because once the head's off, the nut will fall out. Or at least we'll be able to get it apart. It should be fine. Pretty sure I've got a new set of terminal screws somewhere, but either way, this has got to come out. Okay, so I've just drilled a small hole down the middle of the shaft. And now I need to drill out the head bigger than the shaft is, and then the head will fall off. In theory. Just like that. I think no damage to anything, no damage to the battery. The only issue now have you seen this? It is just absolutely packed full of that weird sort of white powder you get on terminals that are having issues. Right, punch I'm not going to use a hammer, I'm just going to give it a whack with a screwdriver handle. It should be enough. Come on. See all this crud? Absolutely welded together. I was never going to get that off. So undoing that one bolt and that little door pops off. And take the battery out. It's a good battery. It's a relatively new Moto bat, but as you can see, that terminal's just gone compared to the other one. Oh, there we go. As you can see, the battery box needs a damn good clean too. I'm going to put these screws, because they're quite unique looking, in a little bag and just mark what they are, just sort of put battery box, and then I'll know what goes where. When I had a PO box, one of my subscribers sent me 1 million of these little bags, and these are something I'm going to make sure I always have now, because they are just so handy to grab. And look, I just put bat box on that one, and then that one I've put tail tidy, need to replace one. I've also put the number plate ones in there, but obviously they're plastic screws, you know what they are, but it's also to do with the back of the bike in the same place, so you'll find what you need with the things that you need. Right, then this one actually holds the starter solenoid in place. The exhaust is definitely coming off, so that might as well come off now. What do you think the odds of me getting that undone without it snapping are? It's pretty low, isn't it? I didn't know this till now. There's actually like a rubber grommet in the frame, and then there's this like plunger that goes to the other side, and then everything screws on that, and that's what mounts the exhaust on here. You got that rubber thing in there that helps reduce vibrations. Can't say it's doing a lot. Just so happens that it is Imperial. Look at that. Or is it Japanese? But it's turning, which is amazing. Is it actually turning though? Oh, it is! Come on. Come on. Well, that was easy in comparison to doing the X-Ray 6 the other day, if you've seen that video. Oh, and for reference, Jake, with the 160 on, that's it. No marks, just the rubber bit on the edge. And not even on that side. How? I don't know. He'll know what I'm talking about. Let's see, did the last person who did this up to the right sort of tension, or did they go mad on it? Oh, look how easy that was. How about the one that I had to cut a hole in? Or a slot, should we say. Oh, God. Things like this side plate, I could probably refinish this myself, or at least clean it up and make it uniform again. They're only going loosely back in, but we know we need to replace one of them anyway. Thankfully, I think these are pretty standard thread things, so I'll find some A2 stainless steel. But there's that rust. This is why I think I need to get the subframe off. This is why I'm going down this track, because I can see from the back side and underneath all this, and then from behind. So yeah, this is getting a bit more stripped than I was planning. This should come out really easily because it never wants to stay together anyway. There we go. trying to decide if I'm going to put the pillion pegs back on. I don't really need them. Though they can be a handy camera mount at times, as you can see. And on this side it holds the exhaust up, but I could make a plate to do that. And it's just as well I took those off, because if you look, they're all rusted up anyway. They need to be resprayed. Right, well there's our box of bits so far. Not too much. I do need to clean up a couple of these bits of plastics, like the battery box and that, which I will do. But currently we're in this sort of form. Okay, well I'm going to call that an end to episode 2, because, well, we've cleaned up the plastics, we've stripped more, we've found more electrical problems, we've found nuts and bolts that needed to be fixed. The next thing I'm going to do in the next episode, the thing I want to get down to, is basically I want to get the subframe off, which should all, well, apart from the electrics I need to detach, this should all come off, and it'll take everything off up until the carb, which would be good, because then I can get behind the frame and see on the inside of here. I can also have a good look at that shock, because I just so happen to have another shock off a bike that only did about 5,000 miles. Someone bought it for a project, realised it wouldn't fit, and said to me, hey, I got this off eBay for 50 quid. Do you want it? And I was like a 5,000 or 7,000 mile old whole shock that looks perfectly good for 50 quid. Hell yeah. The only thing is it's yellow, not white. Would Derek look weird if it had a yellow spring on it rather than a white one? Not that you can really see it. Might be cool. Bit of colour in there. We could do it. What do you reckon? I haven't actually looked at it. I don't know what sort of condition it is. Well, I know it's in good condition. I haven't compressed it. You know, I haven't ridden on it, so I don't know. But we're in a position now that we could consider doing that. But yeah, anyway, next episode, subframe's coming off, and we're going to start to get to see how far into this we need to go. Because, well, let's face it, once the subframe's off, if I still need to go further, it's engine out. There is no other way around it. Well, there we go. If you're enjoying this video, please remember to hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more of this. Remember to check out the previous episode. You've come in at episode 2. There's already an episode where we started with a fully together bike. And from now, I don't know where this is going, honestly. I'm just doing what I know is right, so I'm working my way through, stripping down, organising. I'll be cleaning as I go. And then, yeah, we'll see where we go from there. Need new grips as well. Anyway, as always, huge thanks to my Patreon supporters. Obviously, without you, I couldn't do any of this, even more so right now, because the YouTube earnings, because of everything that's going on, is kind of... So, your guaranteed support is absolutely amazing. If you'd like to consider joining Patreon, I understand if you can't at this time, it's very difficult, so do not worry if you can't. Just remember to hit that like button. It's as little as $1 a month. You get videos 3 days early, you get to be part of the Q&As, you can message me and stuff like that. It's just a little closer community, and also, without those 300 and something people, there would be no videos. I would be completely up the creek. So, if you'd like to consider joining, please do. So until the next one, bye-bye. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to see future videos. This channel is made possible by the support of the audience. Please consider joining my Patreon to get early access to videos, questions answered in the monthly Q&A, your name on screen, and some exclusive content, all for as little as $1 a month. You can also check out the links in the description to my merch and other ways to directly support the channel. Thanks for watching.